feels like it's fulfilling you. There's a sense of fulfillment because you're actually able to be living off of your own prana instead of needing to suck it out of some other place. Then boom, you did it. And most people are not. Most people are waking up and the first thing they're doing is they're thirsty for prana from the outside. They need to go on Twitter and look at what's going on. They need to turn on the TV and know what the weather is 14 states away. It's like, you live in Florida, you don't need to know what's going on in Minnesota. But this is the prana, like, kind of business model that's operating right now, and nobody even realizes it. If you're living in Florida and you're looking at the weather in North Dakota, then you're trying to get prana from something and you're not even regarding where you stand. And I know you might not realize that, but again, it's coming back to this programming. It doesn't concern you what's going on in the weather somewhere else. And that's why so many people, like, you know, they're having an issue with discovering what their purpose is because they've been sold a lie. They've been sold their purpose as a job title, or I argue this a lot. And I teach this concept in my Expansion Mastermind course. We know we talked about it a while ago, but the idea here is that the purpose is process, and process is something that it's up to you to kind of be in a feeling state. Because if process to you feels draining, then it's never going to feel like purpose. But if the process feels like it's actually vitality and life force is like erupting from you, creative essence is, you know, shining through you, then that is going to feel like fulfillment, and that's going to feel like you're serving your purpose. And I say the serving your purpose in like quotes, because again, even that is like a philosophical concept. So yeah, like, I think if we want to have purpose, then that makes you a machine. Like, artificial intelligence has a purpose. My microphone has a purpose. My microphone serves its purpose right now. It is able to transmit this, you know, frequency over onto you and the rest of everyone who's tuning in. Humans don't have a purpose. And if you want to have one, then you're going to end up like the microphone, dead and serving a task. You will be used. You will not be, you know, the tool itself. You will be either the weapon or the tool of somebody else's, you know, utility. So I have a lot to say about this idea, and I think maybe it's a little bit counter to some of the common things we hear from like Eastern spiritualism, or perhaps even some, you know, more light stuff. But I had to do a lot of work on that, and I really had to challenge what this concept of purpose was, to a point where it became like a, you know, it almost sounds grim to some people. But I see purpose enough in life real time to the point where it proves kind of like where I stand and why it's been so helpful for me and a lot of people that have made this change, made this slight change, you know, because it's not taking people and saying, hey, question what you do now, and start to dissect it and pick it apart to see if it makes you feel present or if it makes you feel fulfilled. Like, you don't want to have to think about this. This has very little to do with your mind, and it has more to do with just your state of beingness. And very few people are ever there, right? This is why the meditation apps and all of this stuff have become so popular over time, and the cold plunges and the breathing exercises and the pranayama and all all these little tricks and strategies have become so sexy and marketable because people can't realize this very basic thing. And it again comes back to some of the foundation of the issues with topics like purpose. So the last thing I'll say is I really look at the concept of purpose more like I look at the person on the other line answering the phone when I call 911.
Interesting.
You know, and I'm fucking lucky that they're there. You know, but it's just tasks. It's all tasks. It's like demons. It's just task makers. I think if humans want to have purpose in that particular way, then it's going to be very self-destructive. And this is why you get so many people coming to you, Logan, or me. It's because they want, like, they see that we're living in purpose, and that's really attractive to them. That makes them feel something. And that's what is the influence. And that's a beautiful thing. But I think really what you're going through, and I know you, Logan, enough to say this, and I even talked about it recently on my, I had a little group coaching session with some people in this expansion group coaching thing that I'm doing. And I was talking about you, and I was saying how when I met you, I felt that you're such a great example of somebody who's walking in their purpose. Like,
Thanks.
it's obvious to me, like you're a real one. And it really, like, what's the term? It made me optimistic about life again, meeting you.
Oh, thanks.
Because you were because you're like really, really immersed in what it is that you do. So the Logan that everyone gets on this Decode Your Reality, just really being present whilst doing it is the same Logan that I got when I met you in person. So it was really, it was inspirational, and it was great to see a real, genuine example of somebody who walks in their purpose. And we live in a world where it's very hard to find examples of that. Like, it really is. So I think regardless of anything you might think that challenges what I think on the concept of purpose, or what anyone might think, maybe it might sound a little defeatist to some, but ultimately the intentions here are to come back to being present. And when I see people like, you, for example, when you're decoding and you're doing what you love to do, you zone out and you're there. And it's like you are so immersed in it, and it shines through you that, it's a special thing. So, I tip my hat to you, man, for being like that, because very few people lock that in. They don't. I mean, the timelessness behind when you're in purpose, because I'm sure you can start a decode at like 2 p.m. and look up at the clock and it could be 4 a.m. That's present, man. And that's something that's very, very rarely do we get to see examples of that.
Well, I appreciate all the amazing, loving words coming from you, because, for me, everything you said, I feel like I'm in my purpose. I'm in my flow, without any attachments, just doing what I love to do, waking up, doing what I love to do. But at the same time, it's a flip for me, because when I first met you, you reached out to me and we connected instantly and automatically. And I just felt this bond with you. And, it was such a strong bond. And even you had these knuckleheads saying we had a bromance going on, right? That's to show how like in tune you and I were with our connecting points of our mindsets and stuff like that. And I just thought it was really beautiful, right? Because when you find somebody like Jordan to become friends with and have the honor of doing that, because like you didn't have to be my friend, right? I mean, you could have just went the other way or whatever. But when you find someone in the context of having a friend like yourself, I put a lot of value on it, because, like when I look at you, I get super inspired, because you're doing a lot of things I'm not doing. Like you do a lot of the things I'm not doing, and I'm like, damn, man, I could be doing that. I could, getting this and getting that. And then I just look at like what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, I'm going to recenter myself. But at the same time, I get inspired by, things that you're doing, which is that to me is the value of things. And this is where I joke around. I'm like, we're all just using each other, like a friendship is like we use each other for certain things. Like when you hold someone's hand, if you have a partner, you're using your partner to hold their hand to get the feeling of that emotion. When you have sex with your partner, you're getting the feeling of that with your partner, right? So it's just kind of funny. I think I just put the funny twist on this. I think we all use one another, and it's just a fun thing, right? It's just a fun way to look at life. But it's
I call it collaboration,
using each other. It's very inspiring. And what I love about you is you're so giving of yourself to people, and you're so way ahead of your time. I mean, so I put the contrast on there, and I really put a lot of value. And I'm like, man, someone to incarnate into a vessel and to be where you're at is just super inspiring to me. And that's why I'm happy to see what you're doing and the waves you're making, and all the people that you're helping have the Jefferson movement, which is, moving on up. You're helping all these people move on up. And I think it's just great to see. So
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I mean, I think the thing that I had to break through at a very, very, very young age was a lot of